Hello everyone, and welcome back to my complete course HTML. I'm Destriegieta, and in this video, we're kicking off a semantic HTML course that I'm really excited about. One of the most important things I've learned over the years is that good styling starts with good HTML. That's why in this course, we'll be focusing on semantic HTML from the very beginning. This means using HTML elements correctly to give our content meaning, not just visual appearance. Instead of just using div elements for everything, we'll use elements like header, nav, article, and footer to clearly define the different parts of our web page. In my previous video, the HTML I presented lacked semantic elements. While simple pages can function without them, semantic HTML becomes essential as complexity increases, especially when working with CSS. It significantly improves maintainability, accessibility, and SEO, not just for the HTML, but for how your CSS interacts with it. Therefore, before we start exploring CSS, we'll briefly review the core concepts of semantic HTML to ensure we're building on a solid foundation. With the release of HTML5, comes semantic tags and sections that deliver a much more descriptive assessment of what the content really is. Instead of using class names or IDs to differentiate, you can already get a sense of what is going on with the tag name itself. The definition of semantics, put in very simple terms, is the study of meanings. With semantic HTML, it means using the correct elements for their correct purpose meanings as much as you possibly can. If you need a button, then use the button element instead of the dreaded div or span. Let's put our learning into action and integrate these semantic elements into our project and see the difference. Before proceeding, let's duplicate the existing file named textContentElement.html. Click the Explorer icon at the top left corner of Code Editor. Right-click on the file text content element in the File Explorer, selected Copy. Then right-click in the same folder and selected Paste. Finally, right-click on the newly created copy, selected Rename, and entered semantic-element.html as the new name. Let's open our page in the browser. Right-click on the semantic-element.html file and select Open with Live Server. Perfect. Now, we can close the previous file and hide the file editor bar by clicking the Explorer icon. This will give us a cleaner workspace. As you can see, the current code lacks any meaningful structure. It primarily relies on generic elements that don't convey the purpose of the content. We'll now introduce semantic HTML tags to establish a clear and organized structure for our web page. To improve the structure, let's begin by adding a header element at the top of our body. This will serve as a container for the introductory elements of our page, such as the logo, navigation, and page title. Now, let's continue organizing our content. Within the header, I'll create a new div element with the class logoname to specifically house the h1 and h2 element containing the name. Below the logoname section, I'll add a nav element to clearly define the navigation section of our page. Inside the nav, I'll create an ul and li widden, then place each a element within its li. This will improve the structure and accessibility of our navigation. We're using a div element here because it's a generic container that allows us to group related elements together. The class attribute logoname acts as a unique identifier for this specific div element. This allows us to apply CSS styles specifically to this section of the page, making it easier to customize the appearance of the logo and name. The nav element is the most appropriate element for navigation links. Using nav improves the structure and semantics of our code, making it more understandable for both browsers and assistive technologies. Next, we'll create main element. Inside main element, we create separate sections for key information using section elements. Each section will have a unique ID attribute for easy identification and styling. We'll have a section ID equals about for about me, a section ID equals skills for skills, a section ID equals education for education, a section ID equals experience for experience, and a section ID equals certifications for certifications. Finally, we'll add a footer element at the bottom. The ID attribute gives us fine-grained control over the styling of each section. We can use CSS to apply unique styles to each section, ensuring a visually consistent and professional presentation of our information. Next, we'll start building the About Me section. We'll begin by adding a div element with the class AboutImg. This div will serve as a container for an image, such as a photo of ourselves. Below that, we'll add another div element with the class AboutContent. This div will hold the written content about me, such as a brief introduction, my interests, or my career goals. Let's add some content to our About Me section. We'll place an img tag within the AboutImg div to display a photo. Then, inside the AboutContent div, we'll add an h2 heading with the text about me followed by a p element to share a brief introduction. Next, we'll focus on organizing the remaining content. We'll take the information for skills, education, experience, and certifications and place it within their corresponding sectioned elements. This will ensure that the information is presented in a clear and logical order. Let's start by organizing the skills content. We'll move the list of skills into the skills section. This will improve the overall organization of our web page and make it easier for users to quickly find and review my skills. To move the content, we can simply cut and paste it from its current location and place it within the target sectioned element. First, select the desired text and press Ctrl+X to cut it. Then, navigate to the target section element and place your cursor within it. Finally, press Ctrl+V to paste the content into the section. This ensures the information is properly grouped within its dedicated area. For the education here, we'll improve the structure. We'll create a separate div element for each degree. For example, we'll have a div with a class like degree geophysics for the geophysics degree and another div with a class like degree civil for the civil engineering degree. Within each div, we'll use an h3 tag for the degree name and an h4 tag for the university and years of study. Then, we'll move all these div elements into the education section. This will create a clear and organized presentation of our educational background. These classes will also make it easier to style each degree section differently if needed. Now, our education section has a well-defined structure. For experience and certifications, we'll create a separate div for each entry, even if there's only one, allowing for easy future additions. Each entry will use an h3 for the title or name, a <p for details, and be placed within its respective section, ensuring a consistent and maintainable structure. To finalize our page, remove footer section from main section, then we'll enhance the footer element by incorporating links to our social media profiles, visually represented by icons, and including a copyright statement to acknowledge the ownership of the content, ensuring a professional and complete presentation. Before the title element within the head section of your HTML, please remember to include a link to the Font Awesome CSS file. We've now built a solid foundation for our web page using Semantic HTML. By employing elements like header, nav, section, and footer, we've created a clear and meaningful structure. This will not only make our page more user-friendly, but also make it easier to style and maintain in the future. To further understand the benefits of Semantic HTML, let's explore how it impacts styling. In the next part of our lesson, after we have styled this page, we will compare the styling process for two versions of our page, one with Semantic HTML and another without. This comparison will clearly demonstrate how using semantic elements simplifies the styling process and enhances maintainability, while achieving the same visual look. To begin our CSS styling, we will recreate the content of our previous page, linkimageicon.html, within a new HTML file. This will provide a consistent foundation for our comparison later. Okay, first I'll add a logo image to this header section. Now, let's add the university logo in the education section. I'll place it next to the university name for each entry. Perfect. Okay, let's add some font awesome icons. An icon for skills in the skills section. And maybe a briefcase icon for experience. A certificate icon for the certifications section. And bolding font awesome icons for education. And for new section about section, we add person icon. Now our page is starting to look more visually appealing. Here is the final result of our page. Now, at first glance, it might not seem like there's a huge visual difference between the two versions. But look closely. The code is where the real magic happens. On the left side, you'll see the code utilizing semantic HTML elements. Notice how clean and readable it is. It's like poetry in motion. On the right side, we have the same page, but built using generic elements and a lot of inline styles. It's a bit of a mess, isn't it? For this demonstration, we're primarily focusing on the impact of semantic HTML elements on the code structure and organization. We're not going to delve into the specific styling process itself, as that's a separate topic. Not only is the left side code cleaner, but it's also more efficient and maintainable. By moving the styles to the internal style sheet within the head tag, we've improved the code's organization and made it easier to update and modify the styling across the entire page. Semantic HTML makes your code more meaningful and easier to understand, both for you and for search engines. It improves accessibility for users with disabilities and makes it simpler to maintain and update your website in the future. So, while the visual difference might be subtle, the impact of semantic HTML on the code, maintainability, and overall quality of your website is significant. By understanding and effectively using these semantic HTML elements, you'll create more organized, accessible, and maintainable web pages. Remember to practice and experiment with these elements to solidify your understanding and build your skills. Happy coding! For a better understanding of styling and how to effectively use CSS, please watch our next video in this series. Thank you for watching.